From the offices of Nelson and Murdock all the way up to Madame Gao's high-rise garden, we want to hear your nerd shout. And today, we're shouting about Daredevil.
Yeah.
Those two places aren't that far apart.
Yeah, that's true. Shut your mouth.
Okay, dude.
Daredevil.
Hello, I'm Kevin Becker, and I'm here with the rest of the Nerd Shout team, and you need to know why we do this. We do it because we love it. Let's find out who they are.
Hi, guys. This is Demetris Hartman. And sometimes the line between good and bad can be a blur. Let's talk about that.
Oh, wait, that's my outline? Sorry. I missed it. Let's talk about the show.
Hi, I'm Mark Cirillo, but you can call me Darling Devil.
I literally look ridiculous. Hey everybody, it's Keyla Alves Teixeira. I'm excited to be talking about Marvel's Daredevil.
Hey guys, and welcome to NerdSHOUT's Daredevil Season 1 review. Spoilers! We are going to talk about the whole series as a reaction, and so we will be doing some spoiler things. If you have not watched the show, please go watch it, and then come back and watch us. You can put this on mute in the corner while you watch Daredevil, and then sign into a different account, and then watch I'm fishing for views. I'm sorry. Sorry. Anyway, we are here to talk about Marvel's first Netflix outing, Daredevil. And then we're going to be
the dark side of the universe.
Exactly. We're going to be dividing this into 4 topics. We're going to talk about the characters. We're going to talk about the story. We're going to talk about the connections to the MCU and other such stuff. And then we're going to talk about what we want to see in the future. So, keep those ideas in mind when we're talking about this. Topic 1. The characters. Dum, dum, dum. Alright, so first off, Daredevil. Charlie Cox playing Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
I thought he was wonderful. I found out in reading after I watched the show that he was actually Joe Quesada's first choice for Matt Murdock before they even had got the rights back to do the show. Right. And I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. He learned the accent, he learned the fights. I thought he was wonderful. He had that just the feel of Matt Murdock for me. What did you guys think of him?
I actually loved him right from the beginning. My roommate said something interesting where he liked him as Daredevil, but as Matt Murdock, he was like, but he'd only watched the first couple. Okay. And then I was like, well, but they kind of explain later why he's detaches himself from humans, from making too many connections. And I feel like that's what he was sensing, but he hadn't gotten to that episode yet.
And I think that's
because I thought he was great.
Yeah. That is
like Stick's fault essentially, that he is kind of disconnected with humans. But like I thought he was great. I thought he was a very interesting addition. Like his composure as Matt Murdock was terrific. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing was that like out of all the characters in the series, he was the one that evolved kind of the least in terms of like character development, because he was already Daredevil. Right. We saw kind of his origins as a child, but we didn't see anything more than that. Yeah. Essentially, it felt like they were split characters between Daredevil and Matt Murdock, but 2 split characters that could live inside the same person. And that's what I thought is like the key to catch. In a Daredevil story, to like get that point.
It's the dichotomy. The dichotomy is very important because you have Matt Murdock, who, one of my favorite things about Matt Murdock as a Daredevil fan from the comics is just how much guilt he carries on his shoulders and all everything. And that's a huge part of it.
I know about that.
He's Irish. That's
he's got to protect everybody. It's all on him. And then Daredevil is his ability to just do that, And it's I always have loved Matt and Daredevil being these 2 very different, very clear people. Yeah. And Charlie Cox does a great job with that.
Yeah, he's really great and like phenomenal in like everything. Like he's in shape and like he's just really
pretty badass.
Yeah, and when he really kicks ass, it's like Daredevil, and I believed it. Yeah, like when he would literally transform and just be like kind of like
what I don't know is like were all the moments that he acted in stunt people, like where he did all the stunts.
Well, he has a very distinctive like jawline and lips and
that's
nose,
true.
and so you see like for most of it when you can see his face, you know it's him.
Yeah,
like,
in the second
there's
episode,
nobody that
just that fight scene in the hallway.
Fight scene felt like it was all him, and I just lost my shit.
I love just watching him just go like, I'm really hurt. I have got.
Just keeps going,
and then just like pull himself back up. Just
It felt like Old Boy, and I think I've heard like a few people kind of like draw those similarities in Old Boy, and there's like one take that is just absolutely brilliant where he's just fighting all the bad guys in the final scene, and that was it. Harken back to that, and I loved it because I love.
And they did an amazing job of like him. You felt his injuries.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of
the
times
weight
they
of the
just sort
punches.
of people get hit in like superhero movies, and then they just kind of keep
when
going.
his
and,
lung
like,
when his lung collapsed, my buddy's like, your lung collapsing is one of the most painful things in the world, and watching him just gasping, and then when he gets his air back, just being like, oh
yeah.
fuck.
That's exactly it.
It was brutal.
Now on the other side of that coin, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. Wilson Fisk in this show, Vincent D'Onofrio. This is a conversation I had with my roommate, and I were watching it at the same time. And we got to the episode where he enacts revenge on Anatoly, and
Oh my god.
and we said it, we were like, I wasn't ready for like a damaged Kingpin, like
And I wasn't ready to be sympathetic towards King.
and that was
none of us were
beautiful.
prepared for that.
Exactly. I wasn't expecting.
And my roommate had a
empathy.
very kind of, I don't know if I like it, and I was like, I really do, because you get to watch him become Kingpin, and you watch Matt really become Daredevil, like accept that he's Daredevil, and Wilson accepts that he's the Kingpin, and it's a beautiful, beautiful arc. And I wondered what you guys thought about it watching it.
I never expected to even see like a backstory to the Kingpin.
Right?
It's like it's the official backstory now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think that they did a terrific job.
I liked watching the two of them become who they were going to be.
Yeah.
A lot, I think, and it took me aback at first, but I think a thing many people were ready for was Kingpin is a villain. Kingpin is the Kingpin, you know?
Yeah.
I grew up on the Spider-Man cartoon, you know, from the 90s, and Kingpin was the villain.
The villain of
and
the story.
we were all wanting that, but no, it's as much his story as it is Matt's.
Yeah, you saw them grow together, and there were moments where you were like, who is right? Is it the Kingpin?
Right,
or is
because that's what I think
Daredevil?
the greatest villains have is that they think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he goes about it all the wrong way.
All the wrong ways.
And I'm not clear what his vision was, because it sounded like a totalitarian sort of government. Like he was still going to be in control of this utopia. Yeah,
including the crime and the good thing.
But the backstory with him was amazing. And
I love the backstory. I wasn't ready for it at all. I was
delved
like,
into.
this is so strange.
Suddenly there's a bloody kid in the mirror, and I'm just like, everybody had been...
That was awesome.
Because I didn't get to
So
watch
creepy.
it right away. I didn't get to start at like midnight because I had to work on Friday.
Yeah.
So I got home from work on Friday, and about, Friday night I started getting the, oh my god, episode 9, oh my god, episode 9. And then you go into it, and it started like, oh, episode 9, this is what everybody loved. There's a bloody kid in the mirror. Oh, this is going to be something. This is going to be a thing.
Well, another thing I loved about... I was loving that scene before you even saw him see himself as the kid in the reflection, because I love it when they show what the day-to-day, like, daily routine is for characters that you never see that
True.
for. And it was this beautiful, like just sequence of him
so
like
zen,
getting ready in the morning, which they do back to again later.
At the end, yeah.
And it was like, I was like, that's so beautiful. And sometimes harder to do in comic books.
Yeah.
And you literally instantly felt the whole thing with the music in the back.
And how they connected the rabbit in the snowstorm with
To
his
him
backstory
staring at the wall.
and even
I
at
was
the end when
just
he was in
the
prison just staring at that wall.
Yeah. And
He
I don't know if
stares
you
at
guys...
that wall and sees who he is.
Yeah, and there's the beauty of the Good Samaritan bookends. At the beginning in the first episode, Karen, when they show up in the interrogation room, Karen goes, "What are you, a couple of Good Samaritans?" And then he's got the Good Samaritan speech at the end.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Damn it, these guys are good."
Yeah, they managed to find... That's Drew Goddard for
That's
you.
true, and Stephen DeKnight. And Stephen DeKnight is amazing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Stephen DeKnight as well.
So let's flip it to our... I feel bad even calling them what would be a supporting cast because they're so important.
They're so crucial, yeah.
Which I love that about the show
Yeah.
too, is that the
It's
supporting
so
cast,
ensemble.
I some of their scenes I thought were some of the best scenes in the whole show.
I was so
Deborah Ann
excited
Woll's
to see Ben Urich on
That's
camera.
exactly what I was thinking.
Because you've got Ben, Foggy, and Karen. Let's talk about them for a second.
Yeah.
Foggy is so fantastically dorkily charming.
He's amazing.
He
was one of my favorite characters.
Total nerd like me. I was just like, that'd be me if I were Foggy. Like that, I love that stuff all the time. And Karen Page, that poor girl. I can never stop shaking my head at that girl.
Well, yeah,
and perfect casting, Deborah Ann Woll. Like, is that because I don't know if anybody can do better what she does with like vulnerability, but still being a tough ass and still like just being confused.
Yeah, she pulled that off so well.
Yeah, she's brilliant. I mean, True Blood, she had got to do a lot of that.
I haven't seen True Blood, so I need to do that.
Great.
It's okay. Phenomenal. Watch the first 3-4 seasons.
Come on, no, because she comes in later and she's amazing.
How much? I think she comes in like in season 3 or so. Like two or I think it's 2. No, she comes in season 1. That's right. Kayla's saying she comes in season 1. She's right. But I thought that she was terrific. I loved Ben Urich. I was so sad when they kill him off. Because a lot of fans were hoping that they were going to get that connection between Daily Bugle and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. It was a very poignant moment, though, his death. Yeah. And it really helped progress that story. And here's the thing.
Mark and I were talking earlier. His death might be the first major character death that they don't come back. Nick Fury came back. I mean, obviously, bad guys don't count.
Well, Nick Fury didn't actually die.
But we had to deal with his death. Loki came back. Yeah. Groot came back. Massive spoilers for everything.
But they're saying that Groot, it's going to be more of Son of Groot rather than actual Groot.
But still, you don't. It's the same actor. It's the same idea.
Right, yeah,
Groot is Groot.
It's
not like this Groot is going to have a weird tree mohawk and not talk to anybody while he's listening to death metal.
I'm a teenager. I don't care about you guys.
I am pain.
But speaking of the secondary characters, his scenes with his boss at the newspaper, I thought were the best scenes in the whole show for some reason. There was something about them that blew my mind. His relationship with his boss.
They were comfortable, but also uncomfortable at the same time.
Right, they had this major history together, and they loved, but they were clearly coming at it from different. They both had pressures from different angles,
and the other guy is
and the way they handled it, the way they directed it, the way that they shot in his tiny little office, and the way those actors handled it blew me away. Yeah. And I don't know what it was, but it was phenomenal. I loved those scenes.
And then the villains, the criminals, oh my god. Bob Gunton as the owl had me so excited from the beginning. And then
who never gets the name of the owl.
No, but he does have the green suit for a second because that's the color of the weird stuff that Melvin Potter makes. And am I going to talk about Melvin Potter in a little bit. But before we move on, Kayla, what are your thoughts on the characters in Daredevil?
Could literally talk about these characters forever. I thought the characters were portrayed really brilliantly in the first season of Daredevil. Starting off the bat with Matt Murdock. I thought Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, did a really fantastic job in portraying every single emotion, every feeling, every punch that was freaking thrown in his face, every fight scene. Really, he did a very, very good job. And Matt Murdock as a character, I felt like I learned more and more about him every episode and reasoning why he does everything he does. Every episode that included a conversation with the priest. Those conversations were so intellectual to character development because it really just changes your whole idea of his character because he creates more of an understanding of why Matt Murdock is who he is. But I think, I definitely give 10 out of 10. Matt Murdock, his character, I thought was really portrayed really, really well in this 13 episodes, this first season. Going on to Foggy Nelson, his partner-in-law, that was cheesy, to Foggy Nelson, my favorite episode of Foggy Nelson's character, and other people may also agree with me, is obviously the episode where we get to learn a little bit more about Foggy and Matt's backstory. That was much needed, I believe, and it was also much needed for Foggy's character because it broke Foggy down a little bit, because Foggy is a tad bit of the comic relief to the series, and I really liked learning more about his relationship with Matt, and then seeing him really get emotional and heartbroken about the fact that Matt kept this secret from him. It really did affect him, and I liked it. Watching it as a fan, I really did love that episode. Avocado, it was like avocados at law or something. I don't know, lawyers, avocados. I forget the exact phrase. You guys mention it later. But going on to Karen Page, which is the third person in this wacky family of theirs, in their law firm. Karen Page, as a character, I feel like she had one of the most dramatic changes from episode 1 to the last episode of the show. You know, she really started off in this like damsel in distress archetype of a character, but you really see that change until especially throughout the entire series. You just see her slowly breaking down as a character, and it really actually relates more to her counterpart in the comics. For people who know her backstory will relate to this, is that she just has she comes from a really, really dark past. And you slowly get to see that as the series progresses. And I really enjoyed that, because she, in my opinion, was the character that really did like a 180 for me, from like episode 1 of the series to the final episode of the series. And I mean, it was brutal when she killed Wesley. Absolutely brutal when she killed Wesley, but she just, emptied out that gun at him, and it was really intense. It was like one of those moments where I was just like, oh no, what just happened? Like, that's literally what I did. And bad guys. I want to talk about some bad guys, because I love villains, and I think when a villain is portrayed brilliantly, I am very happy. And a villain that was definitely portrayed very, very well was Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin. Wilson Fisk is absolutely terrifying. We get to see him in episode 3, and it's just what I really loved about Wilson Fisk is the fact that we felt bad for him at certain moments throughout the series. And I think that makes for a really great villain, because when you feel bad for villains, even if it's like for a split second, and then you realize, oh my god, this guy's a bad guy, you hate them even more. You hate them even more, and they become more terrifying. And that's what makes a really great villain for me. And I thought Fisk, season 1, Kingpin, setting up this. I can't wait till somebody actually calls him Kingpin. That would be really, really exciting when that actually happens. But Fisk, season 1, definitely 10 out of 10 for me as well. Karen Page, 10 out of 10. Actually, 10 out of 10. I just love her. Wesley, 10. I think all the characters in the show are just fantastic. Ben Urich, honorable mentions. I can't go on. I think I've been going on too much, and I'll pass it back to you guys. But Ben Urich, great character. Leland, another great character. Nobu, the Hand. Stick. Oh god, it's a Stick. That episode literally called Stick. Great episode, such a great episode, because I love seeing Stick and Matt. They just freaking. It's like they hate and love each other, or it's just hate. I don't know. I don't know too much into the Daredevil comics, but Stick, Madame Gao. I know I'm missing some other people, but all the characters in the show, I have no complaints. They did a very good job in portraying the number one most important character of the show, being Daredevil.
There's an interesting parallel that we've kind of talked about a little bit, but not really on camera, between Wesley, who is amazing, and
he's one of the best Marvel.
Foggy,
the young Victor Garber.
No. The young Victor Garber. between Foggy and Wesley, because they're as much
the best friends of the two leads.
Yeah, the two main,
Wesley is Kingpin's best friend. He talks about it, like even when Wesley dies, it's like such a big deal, and to see his character development and what he has to go through and that, and for Matt Murdock, like that's almost like the death of his friendship by Foggy finding out who he is, who Matt Murdock really is. Which is just like an interesting kind of parallel of the relationship that each one of them
I
has.
also do love Kingpin's, like, that's when he gets the angriest and the most violent, is like, you came after somebody close to me, somebody that I care about,
and you turn the
and he
tables
does
on
what everybody wants to do when that happens. And it
I'm
was
not
kind
throwing you down a fucking elevator shaft.
It was kind of amazing. He was like, I'm not thinking politically, I'm not thinking about career or anything. He's like, I'm just gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
It's just
Because
because
you
it
did
destroyed
that,
him. It broke him so bad.
And and I loved Wesley because you obviously could tell that he really did care about Wilson. That moment when after Gao shows up and he flips the table, and Wesley comes back and he's like, "If I wanted you, I would have called you." And get out! And Wesley goes, "I don't know if that's always true." And then he's brought Vanessa for the first time,
And she was
he
great
was
as
like,
well.
"This is what you need. You need you cannot be alone."
Yeah, you need someone to care for you. And it's really interesting because at first we thought it felt like he was trying to weaken him, maybe to take that position before he died. Like the show was kind of letting you be hinting at that Wesley was the bad guy. But in fact, it was like...
And it was a really interesting thing. I didn't think about it till just now. Because I did, when we found out that someone had tried to kill Vanessa, I was like, is it Wesley? Is Wesley trying to bring him back into his power? And now I wonder if, because Wilson had Vanessa, Wesley was willing to start taking more risks, like taking the gun to deal with Karen himself.
Right, that he wanted to protect him.
Yeah, it was like, you've got Vanessa now. If something happens to me, you have somebody infinitely more important. It's a best friend thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I need to make sure that there's always something there someone there to take care of you.
Yeah, it was really honest.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And the fact that he was saying that, like, he didn't really want to be in this city.
Uh-huh.
You know, he didn't really want to be in New York. It wasn't his favorite thing. And Karen was feeling kind of the same way. Like, it's almost like the relationship with Foggy and
Foggy and Matt. That episode was so good.
Especially
when Matt is so beat up and they're in that one where
and they do the
they're
flashbacks.
in the room forever. Yeah, and
Avocados at law. I love it so much.
that was so like True West when they're like after he finds out he's Daredevil and like that they're just in that room together and Matt can't move and like that whole thing.
You
I was
mean
like,
Sam
oh my
Shepard's
god,
True West?
Yeah, that's exactly
what
like
it felt
these
like.
two
It was
characters. And
It was
they-
absolutely Austin and Lee
intense.
just on each other,
Yes.
verbally.
I love that reference. It's so true. And it's so
true.
honest because their banter was incredible, and that's what I loved from Foggy. Like it felt so normal. It was so organic. It was so real.
And they had all
authentic.
this history, and you felt it, and it was like, it was really.
It really actually it kind of broke me at that moment. Like,
That was a rough
relationship.
episode. Yeah. And then of course we can't move on without mentioning Claire Temple, Night Nurse.
Yes.
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson.
One of
She was
my
wonderful.
great in it.
And for a major cast member, only appeared in like 4 episodes.
Yeah, she was a
that's
great.
true. I didn't even think about that.
She was like a great hint at what can come off from like some of the spin-offs that she can pass on because she's such an important character, but she leaves.
Yeah.
I might have groaned a little bit when when Foggy and Karen show up at the hospital and she just happens to be the nurse that takes them in. I was like,
but see, I love that because you watched all of the storylines cross. You watched the hospital administrator from Ben, you watched Claire, and then you watched Foggy, and like all of Matt's world connected for a second and then splintered again.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that they are so close to finding out the truth but they didn't.
Actually, that's the thing I did like about it. It was like, oh, they crossed, but
Nobody talked about it.
There wasn't this huge revelation all of a sudden because of the coincidence of
that's
crossing.
like the treat
it was
for
just
the audience.
Like, they were in the same place at the
oh!
same time, and they're not going to make that connection
And
for
that,
maybe a really long time, if ever.
And what I like, and that leads us into our next topic, is I absolutely loved the storytelling in this show.
Yeah.
It was dark, and it was rough, and it was very, very different than anything that Marvel has set out to do since starting their own cinematic universe. And I think it was perfect.
Yeah.
Ed Brubaker's run on Daredevil is one of my absolute favorites. Kevin Smith's is great. Bendis' is great. I love Brubaker. Frank Miller's is wonderful.
Yeah, it's one of the things that defined the character for a lot of readers.
But Brubaker was huge for me, and it was a big part of when I started reading Daredevil. And this felt like that. It had the shadows, and it had the pain and the internal struggle, and I think that Netflix is giving Marvel the opportunity to tell stories like this, which it can't tell on major network.
It's in the movies. It's like family friendly. It's very difficult to go and have that extent, that level of brutality.
God, so dark. Yeah, the brutality, like that kind of threw. Like I was like,
you're not expecting it.
When bones start popping through skin, I was just like,
oh my god!
Well,
and I'm just doing this, and I'm averting my eyes, and breaking like the bowling ball.
Breaking the vac, that was the first one. But then like smashing the Russian's head
and it's over his head. Yeah.
Oh
god!
God,
You see the body falling down.
That moment happens immediately after a moment where I was just like starting to sympathize with him again, because I got super excited because what's her name? His girlfriend, Mrs. Vanessa is like, he's like, if you're not into this, you know, whatever, go. And then she's just like,
no.
She's like, oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Meaning,
I don't know what I feel.
But she didn't say no. and I was like, I got all like giddy with excitement. I'm like, happiness for Fisk. And I'm like, why am I rooting? And then the next scene is him destroying this man's head. Literally decapitating him by smashing it in a car door repeatedly.
The fight scenes, the violence, all of it.
Horrifying.
Really, really helped for me to show this desperation.
Yeah.
That Hell's Kitchen, after the Battle of New York, is just dead.
Yeah.
Or
at least it's dying.
It's dying.
Like its soul is dying. That's what's happening. Corruption is on the rise.
And it needs Matt. It needs Daredevil. And I think this is the only place that they could accomplish that tone.
Yeah. Because at this point, like, you have Iron Man, you have Thor, but they're like... They're kind of like the rock stars that are fighting like the big guys, you know, like the alien invasions and the robots in Age of Ultron and all this stuff. But there's so much crime, there's so much despair, there's so much death and pain in the small scale in the streets.
Little section,
just alone in this section.
Which I also love the realism of that, where it's like, well, he's handling these blocks, and like, and they do that sometimes with these kind of characters, like Catwoman in DC. Like, she's got the East End now, and that's her territory, because that's what they can handle.
That's what they do,
and I love that because it almost feels more real.
Kayla,
than Batman handling all of New York City. You know, like,
what do you think of the tone of Daredevil? Did you like the darker? Did you think it works? Did you think they need to do fix anything? The storytelling? All that stuff.
Yes.
I really did love this darker tone they did with Daredevil, the series on Netflix. I think that's the only way they could have went with it, because of the fact they had to do the comics justice. And it had to be bloody, it had to be dark, it had to have this darker tone. Definitely what I was needing. I was needing this, and I was wanting this, and I was wanting Marvel TV to go with a series that was much darker, especially from what we know, which is Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., which brings me to another point with mentioning Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. A lot of people are worried, and just actually not even worried, but have questions in their mind how like Daredevil is going to connect with Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., because they are so different in tones, like being that Daredevil is the darker one and Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. is much, much, much more lighter. So I mean, what do you guys think? Like, how will they possibly connect to Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., because they are so different in tones?
That's a great point, Kayla. And I was thinking about that a lot too, with like the darker tone. But I mean, I have to admit, like the first trailer we saw for Age of Ultron was so dark that it I felt physically disturbed by it, like, because it was so dark. I was like, I don't know, I have to see it. I don't know if I want to see it.
That's when
it's too dark.
The reviews have been coming in so far for Age of Ultron. Have also been saying that it's a lot darker. So
Well, yeah, and I mean, feel like, but I think it's important to show the different, just like in the real world.
That's what I was about to say.
There's
Yeah,
like the really dark parts, and there's really dark things happening in the corners of New York City.
yes, that's the honesty that comes out of this.
They're living right next door to it, but that's not their life.
it matches Karen Page's line of, you don't see the world anymore. You start to see the dark corners. They exist. We haven't shown a light in them just yet too much. We've seen some dark stuff, but we haven't really started taking a look into the real shadows. And that's what the Netflix series are going to let us do.
Yeah, and that's what it is. This is the darkest corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe we've seen to date.
Which is perfect, because we want to talk about how it fits into the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, right.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and it's not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
but the Marvel
just
Universe.
Marvel Universe in total. It's incredible.
Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Oh my god, like
Because I got a laundry list of things.
I don't know where I'm gonna stop.
I do. Melvin Potter is where I'm going to start. I freaked out so hard. So Melvin Potter, if you do not know, is the Gladiator.
Yes.
Who is a guy who made costumes, who created himself a gladiator costume, who has some, let us say, issues with mental stability.
I love his character in this.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant performance.
So
and from the
good.
first time he shows up, where they pan through saw blades, to Fisk's line with
to actually
Owsley,
throwing the saw blade at
So
him,
great.
to seeing the schematic for the suit, I was just like, we're gonna get Gladiator. And I love Gladiator because Melvin doesn't, at a certain point, especially in Brubaker's run, doesn't want to hurt Daredevil. But when Gladiator, the persona takes over, get out of the way.
Yes.
And we see that he's super
brutal.
strong. He picks up Matt by the face.
Yeah, it was like nothing.
I wanted to talk about that since the line, it's the other half that counts.
Yeah, that was a great intro to the character too.
I'm good. Continue.
I love that he's like a costume maker too. Like he's kind of a fanboy. Like he's kind of into cosplay.
He has Stiltman stilts.
It's kind of his thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He helps other people with their cosplay.
We see Stiltman as well, and his arrest is like incredible. I love the way that they were deciding to link things. Like,
Oh my god.
everything. Like that they're trying to explain Daredevil and Kingpin through the cards. And in that same episode, I think it's the same episode where we see the sniper who has a whole deck of cards and he has an ace of spades right by a sniper. It's just like
They go to such length to cover his face, to say we paid someone to shoot him for us, and the fact that he's got a sniper rifle which he fires awful fast. You hear the
takes
boom,
out 3 guys.
boom, boom. You don't fire a sniper rifle that fast. And then he has the deck of cards in his bag.
Yes.
Is that bullseye? I think it is.
I think we've saw our first
has yet to
sneak
be
peek.
cast since we
Yes,
saw
so
nothing.
There's not just that. Like, if we want to get into like even deeper and darker parts of it, like we clearly have seen some hints at Iron Fist.
Yes.
With Madame Gao. Madame Gao.
The symbol on her.
Her heroine ring is the steel serpent. They call it the steel serpent, but it's in reference to the steel serpent, which is one of Iron Fist's main nemesis, if you will. Yeah. And I think that Madame Gao is actually Crane Mother. And
Okay.
Crane Mother is the one who runs one of the 7, cities of heaven, Kunzin, which is in Kunlun, where Iron Fist trains in, is another one of those cities, and they're essentially like rivals in that way. So, and when she says that, no, China. No, my place is considerably
further.
Wow.
I knew she was at least from Kunlun, if not somewhere else.
Yeah, but I think that's who she is,
Yeah,
because
that's much
she is
better.
affiliated with Steel Serpent. In
I
so
loved
many
her
ways.
character. I
She
loved
was
the
great.
actress. Oh, speaking, I know this goes back to character stuff, but Fisk's mother. I love that actress.
Yeah.
Loved the character.
She was excellent. Yeah.
Yeah,
She was still
I just wanted to
alive.
throw that out there because
Yeah.
they're both just amazing older ladies.
Yes, they are.
yeah.
And talking about
They're just
stories, like story earlier, it was such a great twist to see her still be alive.
Right? It was, oh my god. And there were so many great, St. Agnes, since we're talking about it.
Oh, yes!
Where Matt Murdock grew up.
Right.
Is also the same place that Skye grew up.
Yes.
In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So,
and they mentioned it in the last episode
of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, so there's a lot of connections that they've been making. The incident is obviously Battle of New York, and
or like the what is it, the Shake Up in Harlem or something like that. That's in reference to the Incredible Hulk. And that's something that Ben Urich covered. Yeah. All those stories.
I love this.
Stories that Urich covered.
The connections have been so great, and there's some that I saw and I went ooh, and then I forgot.
There's just so many. There's so many Easter eggs. There's Atlas Comics is referenced to, and Atlas was the comic book company that Marvel was before they turned into Marvel. That's the door that you'll see right across from Matt and Foggy's.
I saw that and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's incredible. There's a link to Cornelius von Lunt, and Cornelius von Lunt. It's the faded print on their door. Who the person
like what was there before?
Exactly. I also doesn't Leland mention him as well?
Yes, the big hall where they have their gala, the reception where everyone gets poisoned at Kingpin's reception, as also belongs to Cornelius von Lunt. And Cornelius von Lunt is the Taurus. Taurus, one of the the symbols of the zodiac. He's also a member of the Great Wheel of Zodiac, and he's a villain. Right?
They had the Zodiac Key.
The Zodiac Key, and that also it actually ties into at least the one shot of Agent Carter. And if they're going to make him be an older character, if they do go through with a second season of Agent Carter, I feel like they could totally bring in Cornelius von Lunt as a villain in that. They reference Roxxon Industries, which were the ones. Roxxon Industries were the ones that ended up. They're the ones that in the Marvel universe are at fault for Howard's death and his wife's death, for Tony's parents' death. So that's a huge connection with them as well. To bring all these people in. Then there's Asano Robotics that is the crate that brings in the Black Sky. And Asano, I think it's Yoshida Asano. He is a character who was born during when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. He was disfigured because of that, and he hated Howard Stark for having been a member in the development of the atom bomb. And so then he becomes a villain of Iron Man called Samurai Steel as well. So there's just so many connections that we see. We even see Stan Lee.
Yes, did you see Stan Lee? His pictures in the back.
Yeah. So I'm so excited because
I'm gonna let Wikipedia reload here for a second.
I was like, he's not gonna stop.
No, I just want to keep going because I loved it.
It's kind of amazing that they were able to tell this amazingly well-told story and tie in all those things.
I mean, it's
really
amazing,
impressive.
But they've been doing it in comic books for years.
Yes,
so
true. All the storylines are happening at the same time and they're still connecting.
Let's take it over to Keyla real quick. Keyla, were there any things that you spotted that you were super duper excited about?
I guess another connection that I don't think you guys quite mentioned is being the character Nobu with the hand. So I'm excited to see that more of that in upcoming more seasons of Daredevil. Especially the hand. Like we didn't directly get confirmation that Nobu was part of the hand, but I mean everyone. Did we get confirmation? Is there an article online that were confirmed that Nobu is part of the hand? If so, send it to me or comment below because I may be mistaken. But that is a connection from the series to the comics. Another thing is stick and the chest. But if we get the hand in the series, then we're definitely going to get stick and them. That's another possible connection. So I think that's a connection that I'm most excited for. That and the Easter egg to Iron Fist is another one that I'm really excited for. But I think I'm a sucker for supervillains. I've said this before on the Agents of S.h.I.E.L.D. after show. I really am a sucker for supervillains and supervillain organizations. So Nobu being connected to the hand makes me very happy and excited. So I'm looking forward to getting more of that in upcoming seasons of Daredevil.
And the last thing I want to talk about is I want to make a wish list.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go ahead and obviously we're going to see Daredevil again in the Defenders, but in future Daredevils, I know. Don't even. I can't even
get started.
What do you want to see in future Daredevil stuff? Do you want to see? Are there certain storylines, characters?
Jessica Jones.
I want to see Jessica.
I just want her to be part of every show. And I haven't even seen, none of us have seen the new show yet, but I'm so in love with this character Bendis created.
Right?
I just want her in everything.
I'm excited that that's the next one. I think that's a great next
and with being in Apartment 23 playing her, I'm kind of excited.
Yeah.
And Breaking Bad, she's just
Kristen
great.
Ritter's amazing.
She can do dark really well.
Dark and damaged characters.
She's a very damaged character, and that's what I'm really excited to explore as well, a really dark female character. We've kind of gotten it with the Black Widow initiative and kind of seeing that backstory, but here we're going to get really in depth. So I'm really excited for that. What I'm really excited to see is the links to Iron Fist. I want to see Karen Page go through the darkness of her life because she's an incredible character with messed up past, and I want that to be revealed because we want to see what it is.
I'm dying to find out what all the stuff she's been hiding that whole
what it is
season.
that made her so powerful and so strong and so strong-willed, even though she has this
she's
likeness that's beautiful. I want to see that. I'm really hoping that they could do through Defenders, through these dark series, like a Punisher and Ghost Rider, because Karen Page actually became a very important character in Ghost Rider for
I'd love Moon Knight.
For almost 7 years. Moon Knight, absolutely, that would be terrific to see these three being kind of like a branch out of the Defender series. That would be phenomenal. But yeah, I want to see just these threads being pulled in. I want to see Elektra Nachos because they mention her. They mention her in the college scene, the Greek girl, and I'm Greek, and that made me so excited.
I gotta start making Dimitri go last so other people have things to say.
Because I'll just keep ranting. But then that's pretty much it. I want to see all these storylines go through, and they still can continue more of Frank Miller's run throughout. And that's it. I'm quiet now. You guys go. You guys go.
Is there anything in Marvel left? No, I
don't know.
As I mentioned, I'm obviously very excited about seeing Gladiator. I want to see a lot more of Vanessa becoming the just hurt woman that the war between Wilson and Matt turns her into. That she ends up lashing out. I want to see Mr. Fear. I love Mr. Fear. I went to law school with you and you were better than me, and so now I'm a supervillain. I'm fine. Let's do it. Let's go.
I love supervillains that grow out of not being as good as the superhero.
Right?
So I'm going to go the other way.
Right?
I'll be really good at being evil.
And I literally just cannot wait to watch Danny and Luke and Matt sit around and be talking and just, shooting the shit and just...
it's the slice of life stuff that I love, which I said earlier. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for all that, and there's so much that I would love to see. I want to see more of the Hand. It's just... all of it? Can I have all of it?
All of it.
I wonder if they're going to link all that
ending
into either Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, or...
I feel like we're going to see more of it in Iron Fist than we would in Luke and Jessica.
I wonder if the war that Stick is talking about might be the ground that they're laying for Defenders.
But I feel like I have read that Kingpin is going to be the bad guy in Defenders.
Interesting.
Because we know Purple Man is the bad guy of Jessica Jones, who works for the Kingpin.
Right.
We don't have a bad guy for Luke Cage, and we don't have a bad guy for Iron Fist yet.
Right.
We don't have an Iron Fist yet. So I feel like we're all leading... We're going to see now...
Right? Kilgrave was going to be the bad guy in Jessica Jones. Yeah.
And I feel like we're seeing... Okay, well, Kingpin's gone, but he didn't leave us without a presence. And we're going to see how he's going to end up still controlling things from prison and gets himself out, because he's the Kingpin.
Yeah. So Purple Man's going to be the villain? And
David Tennant.
Yeah, David Tennant, Kilgrave.
Purple Girl joined Alpha Flight for a little while.
Did she?
Yeah. And Purple Man was in a few.
I feel like if we had a TV show that was Alpha Flight and the Runaways,
was something that could connect everything to. They keep skimming by Alpha Flight, almost keeping them out of the MCU.
Alpha Flight is Phase 4.
Cinematic Universe. Yeah.
Phase 4. Alpha Flight. Just all Alpha Flight 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Avengers.
And then they have the excuse to shoot everything in Canada. So much cheaper.
So much cheaper for production.
Kayla, do you have any wish lists for future Daredevil or Netflix stuff?
Of all the series that's coming to Netflix, I mean, there's the Defenders, there's Daredevil, obviously, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones. I'm most excited to see Jessica Jones. I'm just so happy to see the dynamic that she's going to have with Cage, Luke Cage, and I mean, in the comics, some of you know, some of you don't know. I don't know. They do have a baby together, so I really am excited to see Jessica Jones, but I'm also excited to see Iron Fist because I'm excited to see his origin story, like on screen, and see how he came to be. I'm really excited to see how they portray that on Netflix. But definitely, I think all of them, all the series are coming, all the shows are releasing on Netflix from Marvel TV. Is definitely going to be Jessica Jones.
On that, I just wish that they could deal with the Jessica Jones having been an Avenger, like when she had like powers, and then lost them, because I feel like that's a big. And I'm wondering how they're gonna. I don't know, because the Avengers technically, I guess, didn't exist, and we were there at the beginning of the Avengers in the MCU. You know?
She could have had some connection to S.h.i.e.L.D. though. Like, I'm sure they'll, because Fury's got the index.
That's true. Or
exactly. And I think that they're just going to link all these shows, A Carter, Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., whatever the spin-off is going to be, and Defenders, it's all going to be linked.
I feel like that's a big part of her, like, characters that she used to have superpowers. So I'm curious as to how that's going to be handled. But anyway.
We'll find out hopefully very, very soon. We're going to take to the Twitter box real quick. I want to read some reactions that you guys sent to us using that hashtag nerdSHOUT, because we asked you, what do you think of Daredevil? Our first one comes from @CandaceWhipple. And Candace said, Daredevil is the most addicting show I've seen in a long time.
You are correct.
Perfect blend of humor, action, violence, and emotions.
That is the correct answer.
All green here.
10 points to Whipple. Our next one comes from @NewYorkJets_Life Mets for Life, without an E. And they said, the fight scenes are the best I have seen in a Marvel production so far. Very well made.
So right.
The stunts were absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly.
Brutal.
Our next one comes from @Wandering_Lily, and she said, the season finale of Daredevil is probably the best, all caps, hour of television I've seen in a long time. This is my new favorite show. Wow. And then 3 clapping emojis.
Yes.
That's 3 clapping. And the final one, 1, 2, 3. The final one comes from @Faye_616, and Faye says, watched it all. I need more pronto. I love and hate binge watching. It's fun, but all over far too soon.
Tell me about it. I watched the entire show in one day. Like the day that it came out, I watched it all in one go. It didn't stop. 13 hours, just like a couple of bathroom breaks. That was about it.
I did 9 episodes
that was it.
After work, because I got home in the afternoon. I did 9 episodes till like the wee hours of the morning. Fell asleep and did the last 4 on Saturday.
I was so busy over the weekend. I was like squeezing.
I blocked out my weekend. I knew when it was happening.
I binge watched it and then left like in the morning after to go shoot a film. It's just
my god!
It was like an intense 3 hours Saturday night.
Did you walk of shame away from Daredevil? Did you do the walk of shame?
Pretty much, yeah. I binge watched it and walked ashamed. That's pretty much what happened. And
that's hilarious.
But I wanted to actually lay this question to you guys. What did you think of the costume, the actual costume? Because we saw the Frank Miller costume, we got used to it. What do we think about that?
I loved how cool it looked in the opening credits, where it's like the red blood or
it's
wax
like
or whatever.
And it was super different in the end.
And then in the episode, at the end, some parts I liked and some parts I didn't, and some shots I liked it and some shots I didn't.
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel.
I feel like the thing that's important to remember about it is, and Melvin says it when he picks up or drops off the box, it's not done. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Good enough.
That's true. I'm fine with that.
It's something that he needs that iconic symbol, and now that you get the fun Easter egg of the bulletin front page with like the actual Daredevil drawing, so he doesn't have the DD on it, and like he gets to make it his now.
That was straight out of Brubaker's run, essentially.
I think so. Yeah,
that sketch. Yeah.
So all in all, I'm very, very excited for more stuff. Thank you guys very, very much for joining us for our Daredevil wrap-up. We have a lot more coming your way. Age of Ultron is coming out very, very soon. And we always have our Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. after show right here on nerdSHOUT. So do me a favor, if this is your first time hanging out with us, come join the party.
Yeah.
We're all about community. Go ahead, hit that little thumb up, like down there, hit subscribe. Find us on social media at we're on nerdSHOUT on everything, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, all under nerdSHOUT. And let us know what you would like to see us do, what you'd like to talk about. We love talking to you guys. It's our favorite thing. So please, please, please join our community.
Yeah. Just come.
Heartfelt.
And we're just going to keep talking about what we love and share it with you guys.
And that means after the camera shuts off. So, so thank you guys very, very much from me and the whole team over here at nerdSHOUT. We love you. We cannot wait to do more of this. And remember, we want to hear your nerd shout. You were ready for it.
Yeah, baby, we did it.
Peace out, guys.
Let's talk about the show.
Okay.
Yeah, baby.
Are we going to make out?
No! No, wait, keep recording.
Stop.
Are you still recording?
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
My larynx.
Oh, I thought it was your balls.
No.
Oh.
Anatomy.
Can I stop recording now?
Yes.
Yes.